Hey guys, welcome back to Filter Coffee Football. Here to talk about transfers outside of the Premier League today. We might make a few mentions of players who used to play in the Premier League, but primarily sticking to big moves in January in clubs
Europe mostly.
across Europe. Yes. Before we get started, though, I realized that in about 4-5 months of us doing the podcast, I've maybe asked you once on how you're doing today. So, Karthik, how are you doing today?
I'm doing nice, doing fine.
Super.
What's up with you?
All good, man. I dropped some coffee earlier on before starting, so I'm a little bit ticked off about that. But outside of that, feeling pretty good. Was in the middle of watching Chelsea versus Plymouth Argyle, 1-1 draw, another match into extra time. We might see another big team go out in the
The
FA
magic
Cup.
of the cup. That's
I
what they
know,
say.
yeah, absolutely amazing. But moving to our actual point, like, share, subscribe as always, and let's kickstart with transfers across the Europe that we really, really liked or really surprised us. Let's start, of course, with the big one. Everyone was after this guy. Eventually, Juventus got their hands on him. Dusan Vlahovic, 70 million, big fee, essentially trying to replace the big hole left by the departure of Ronaldo. Because, no matter what you say
Was
about
that
his
even a
time,
hole?
I mean, no matter what you say about his time at Juve, he brought the goals in. So, and that's something that Juventus have definitely missed a whole lot. What do you
True.
think about this move?
I think shrewd enough, and I think it's not just happened right now. It's happened over the course of last season where they've tried to sign him maybe, or they've goaded him already to like come in, and this was just closing the books. This was just formalities where he said, "Yeah, okay, we'll sign." I think Juventus have been on his case for a while,
Mhm.
which the media hasn't really reported. He's probably got what 41, 42 odd goals in
Oh
63
yeah,
games.
he's had
Quite nice.
fabulous last couple of
Quite a
seasons.
turnout. Yeah, quite a turn up for someone who's just 21. He doesn't look 21 though. And yeah, and he is physically definitely very capable, good in the air, good with the ball at his feet. I think he has a lot of potential to develop. The fee, again, I don't know how Juventus have stumped up that fee, but apart from that, solid move.
Yeah, I mean, all credit to Fiorentina for holding on to him to get the most out of him in terms of the fee. I think it's a good transfer. I definitely feel that they may have overpaid. As an Arsenal fan, I'm kind of glad that Arsenal didn't stump up that amount of cash for a player who's again had a great couple of seasons, but that's really only been his mark so far. But I think it's still a safer move for Juventus because he's still within the same league, so he's going to play the same teams that he's had so
Exactly.
much success against. So in that sense, I think it's a very good move for Juve. But moving on to the move that we liked more than the Vlahovic move for Juventus was Denis Zakaria. Oh, that for me is their transfer of the season. 5 million, less than 5 million for an absolute, and that's what we call about, like, Vlahovic has all the potential to be amazing, but you paid a really high sum for him, whereas Zakaria is kind of in that same ballpark, lots and lots of potential, and they have paid pennies for this player. Of course, they already have a pretty decent midfield with Locatelli really kind of kicking off this season. Again, another really great move earlier on in the summer. And Zakaria really won for the future. They're kind of moving away from their model of, buying
Right.
old players at the end of their contracts, which
Free
is
transfer. Free transfer UA is over right now, I guess.
which is really good to see. So, and then when you kind of combine the two together, Vlahovic for 70 and then Zakaria for 5,
I
75 mil for two players, and then it looks a lot better. So yeah, I think Juventus really did a great job in the window. But there is another club that I feel maybe got an even better deal in Serie A with Inter Milan, because they managed to get in Gosens on a
Robin Gosens.
loan with an option to buy or an obligation to buy, and they got Andre Onana in for free. That was my
Yeah,
surprise.
but Onana isn't going to play for some time, so
Yeah, but again, in the hindsight, the way, because the whole controversy behind him was for the doping ban, and I think everyone agreed in the end that this was just, you know, like it was just bad sort of timing, because apparently he had medications for his wife or his girlfriend, which had the drug that got picked up. So even the board, when they kind of saw the
Everything
evidence, they
is
were like,
hearsay, to be very honest.
it is. But apparently, the board, when they heard this, they were kind of, yeah, they kind of were on board, like, okay, this is a legitimate reason. And so he has essentially cleared his name of any actual wrongdoing, which again makes this transfer so much good. Because before the whole incident, he was regarded as one of the best up and coming goalkeepers anyway. And now that, this controversy is kind of behind him, he's had an amazing time at sorry,
Ajax.
completely at no at AFCON as well this season. He's been good, although they did crash out. But he's been good there as well. Great Cameroonian national team overall as well. So I think it's a really savvy transfer for Inter Milan to
Yeah,
get.
it's a nice loan move, and what they have a 20 million odd obligation to buy. So 20 million. Sorry, that's Gosens. My
That's
bad.
Gosens. This is a
Yeah,
free move. Yeah.
correct. This is free, and Gosens is 20 million obligation to buy after the loan. So 20 million for one of the best wing backs in the league. Again, a very smart move. Very
Yeah.
very shrewd move.
So Inter definitely making some big moves in there as well. But yeah, moving on to one of our other favorite, well, not favorite, but another, going back to Juventus with their exits. Aaron Ramsey going to Scotland, going to Rangers. Apparently, he had a pick of a few Premier League clubs that were interested in him as well. Newcastle being quite prominently one of them, and he chose Rangers, which is interesting for me because um, the wage structure is very very different. So if rumors are to be believed, he's currently being paid almost 10 times less than he was making at Juventus. Of course,
He was making around 400K at
yeah,
Juventus,
exactly.
which is mental, which is mental,
Uh,
absolutely mental.
so apparently there is like some kind of discrepancy in there, where it's like a lot of that was bonuses. So he was still making around like 200-250K base, which is still a lot of money for a club like Rangers, whose highest paid player makes like around 30K. Of course, now Ramsey is going to be their highest earner, but he's still at around like a 40-45K a week sort of salary, with Juventus still picking up a portion and Ramsey
Definitely.
foregoing a large chunk of it. And he probably wouldn't have had to do that had he moved to Newcastle. But hats off to him for picking a slightly different challenge, going to Scotland. Still a good reputation club. What do you think? Yeah, go for it.
I think for the time he's in and for his age right now, maybe Rangers is a very smart move. He's 31 right now. Um, he'll play for Rangers for 3 more seasons and maybe four. He could probably extend his playing career there. And I mean, it's not a bigger challenge like the Premier League, but I think after all the injuries and all all the trauma that he's faced earlier on, right now I don't think he would want to risk it again in the Premier League, or maybe he wants to prove it at Rangers again and then get into the Premier League. It could be either of that, but I think it's a smart move by the player to like stay away from the limelight for a while. Just put your head down, play for it, and see what goes.
Yeah, and Rangers, I think they did manage to make a great upgrade on their manager, despite letting go of Gerrard, who got them to their first Scottish League title in a while. And it's a good move to stabilize the club a little bit. They've kind of uh, faltered a
Uttered.
little bit, but this is a good move for them as well as a club, especially if they can make the wages work. Definitely getting a player of his quality in. But yeah, we're gonna end with one more. I want you to make one more suggestion that we want to talk about. But before we do that, I wanted to just ramble through a few moves that were impressive. Oh, that was the puppy.
Hmm.
I want to make a few moves out that really stood out that you don't necessarily need to go into a lot of depth with. Jonathan Akone moved from Lille to Fiorentina as possibly a replacement or just an addition into that attack with Vlahovic gone. And as a result, Lille went out and signed Hatem Ben Arfa back from a free agent. Um, Probably still decent enough for the French league. Don't know how good that move might be, but Lille have had a good season so far, so I'm hoping that they're able to, squeeze something out of there and make some use of him. Another big surprise was Nani, who is still playing football. Was in was playing in the MLS for Orlando City and is back to Serie A at Venezia, who's kind of struggling with relegation as of this moment. But back in Europe, I mean, I don't know if he's trying to get back into that Portugal squad at all. I don't think that's going to be possible given the talent they have. But back in Europe, so back in the big leagues, so to say.
I think
Uh,
I also think this move, Ricardo Pepe's move, is like quite nice. Where I mean, he jumped off from Dallas to Augsburg, getting into Europe. One of the hottest talents to emerge from the MLS. He's got somewhere around 14 odd goals in 30 appearances. Then he scored in all of the US men's team World Cup qualifiers. Makes him a very hot talent. And I'm surprised how Augsburg just swooped in from the big wigs. I was really surprised because he was linked with every big club: Real Madrid, Liverpool, Manchester United, and who not. I mean, he was linked with everyone. But for him to choose Augsburg, maybe that also shows that he's on the right path for development, not just jump into a big club straight up and maybe struggle for game time, fall into obscurity.
yeah,
Makes sense from the player's point of view right now.
yeah. I mean, young players, you always want to kind of go into a team where you're going to get a lot of game time and possibly not a whole lot of media attention to let you really flourish. So, smart move. The US, despite somewhat struggling in there, I mean, they're still going to qualify for the World Cups, it seems like. But still, somewhat struggling in that group, still producing a lot of talent right now.
US national team is, I mean, it's getting chock a block with talent. I really want to see how they perform at the World Cup.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Even the Canadian team, they're top of their qualification group right now, so
True.
that might be something fun.
Jonathan
Uh,
David, maybe.
and then the last move that we wanted to just quickly touch up on, just because it's an interesting move, was David Neres going over to Shakhtar Donetsk. I mean, this is a player that a year ago was touted for a move to Liverpool, as a potential replacement for that attacking three, and things have just not worked out for the young player. I mean, he had a decent showing at the Euros as well. He kind of got some of that attention. People noticed him, but
No, no, no. David Neres isn't in Europe. He's Brazilian.
oh, he is. Sorry, my
Yeah.
bad. Who was I thinking about? Oh no, I was thinking about another Dutch player. I was thinking about never mind. I was thinking about the guy who's in Dortmund now, the young wide winger that they got.
Dre- uh, M. Daniel Malin.
Daniel Malin. That was the one that I was thinking about. Never mind me. I was bumbling in my head on that one. Uh, but nonetheless, a player that people clearly regarded in very, very high standards. And Shakhtar Donetsk seems like a downgrade, especially, coming out of Ajax. It's um,
Definitely. I mean, moving from a playing system that Ajax have to moving to a club where there's not much of a playing system. I definitely agree that it's a downward move.
yeah, maybe some struggles going on there. Hopefully, he can kind of reinvent himself, find some of that potential that people were seeing in him, and just get his career back on track. But yeah,
I want to throw in a pun here.
go.
I I think I think he said he wanted to move higher, but higher geographically.
uh,
And I am assuming he was also on a higher pedestal somewhere in between all that.
I mean, it's not that hard to enjoy a little bit when you're in Amsterdam, right? Uh, But yeah, that was our look at big moves that we really liked outside of the Premier League in Europe this season. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know which moves stood out to you the most, and what you guys rate as some of the biggest or the worst or the most surprising transfers. Oh, sorry, last one. Technically not a move in January, but just generally shocked that Lorenzo Insigne has decided to move out of Serie A and go to the MLS starting next season. So he's still going to finish the season with Napoli this year, but will go out to
He's
Toronto FC.
32, I guess.
Yeah, he's 31 this season. He'll turn 32. But still, I mean, he, again, pretty much in that Italian national team lineup, and with the World Cup coming right up, I was surprised that he decided to move out of Europe with the World Cup coming right in the middle of the season as well. So that was just a shocking move for me. But yeah, that was our discussion for those moves. As always, like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much. We're so close to 200 subs at this point. I mean, it doesn't seem so long ago that we were at 100. Now we're getting to 200. So thank you so much for that. And as always, like, share, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram at FilterCoffeeFooty. Take care, guys.
Alrighty. See you then.